and I coined a new term, artpreneurs, to show up big and connect with their people. Today, we're going to talk about color and branding. In terms of our acronym, BOSS, if you're a boss, B is for branded, O is for organized, S is for sustainable, and the second S is for success minded. But today on Monday, we're going to talk about branding, and particularly how important is the color of your brand in terms of how it is impacted, how it impacts others in their decision making. Now, I'm going to share my screen because this is my favorite, one of my favorite images as it relates to this topic. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. So, this is called the Emotion Color Guide, and this is from a group called Help Scout. The thing that's important to know is that color psychology is a field of study, and it is important because 90% of the time people will make a decision on a snap decision based on color alone. So, the guys, they see pink, they're like, oh, that's for women, or if you see green, you're thinking, oh, okay, that's nature, money, whatever. So, but the reality is that color in and of itself of your brand is not necessarily, you are not necessarily able to just kind of put it in a nice clean bucket and just say, okay, if it's yellow, it's optimism. If it's orange, it's friendly. It's not really that cut clear. Blah, blah, blah. It's not really that clear cut because people have different backgrounds, culture differences have a play, just different types of things that resonate with you, experiences that you had. There's so many other factors that come into play in terms of the colors that to just say, oh, okay, you always want to use one color or another, it's a little bit challenging, but you do want to consider the color as you're coming up with your brand and your, particularly maybe if you're looking at logos. I wouldn't necessarily, if you're new, just starting out and you're going to someone to do a logo for you, you have to make sure that you communicate to them kind of, or they should be inquiring about your personality, your style, what you want your brand to represent so that they can come up with, and preferably, this is the way I like to deal with people. Anybody that's doing graphic design, even me, I expect this from people, and I will kind of work to pull it from people. And that is, your perception or your view of what you're doing, your interpretation of how you want people to see what you're bringing to the table. All that is important when someone is coming together for you to make a visual representation of your business. So you need to do some pre-work and go in there, and go in there prepared at least with a concept of what you want. Because a lot of times, if you don't, you might get something you like, but later on you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't really represent what I wanted to. So anyway, but this is the color emotion guide. Now, given that caveat that people interpret colors in different ways, what's more important than just say looking at this image and saying, oh, I think I'm gonna use blue because blue resonates trust. What's more important is how will people perceive you based on how your colors look on your logo, if that makes sense. So it's not just the color itself, it's does it really represent your business? So for example, trust, let's take that one. A lot of banks had blue. Remember NBD, Comerica, like all the banks, it seemed like for a really long time were all blue. And so if your industry has a bunch of competitors, if you look at all your competitors and they're all blue, you have a decision to make. You can either align yourself with who's already there and come up with something blue to associate you with that group, that industry group, or you could go out and be courageous and be a little bit different. You might say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to be green. Okay. So people like Huntington Banks, Huntington Banks, Vibe Credit Union, these are all banks, but they're green instead of blue, right? So you might decide you want to stand out. But the reason for sharing this is just for you to have an awareness that there is considerable study behind the impact of colors as they impact your perception of your brand. So, for example, silver and gold are what? Luxury. Green is what? Sustainability and health and wellness. Yellow is fun and excitement. Just off the top of my head, not even looking at this image, I have some perceptions about different businesses just based on what I've experienced in life, right? So as a entrepreneur, you want to at least be aware or have a mindfulness about how these colors are perceived. What other businesses are they associated with? So I love this image because it has all these different logos and you can kind of see what types of businesses are associated. Now, personally, I don't really see this connection with this word all the way through on all these logos that are here. And that's to the point that they don't always represent like Best Buy. Like, what does optimism got to do with Best Buy? Maybe you're optimistic that you're gonna get the best price, right? Maybe it's that. Or I'm looking at Shell or things like that. So it's more kind of like an undercurrent. But anyway, I digress. So I just wanted to bring awareness to you about the color psychology, that it is something that you want to consider when you're looking at your brand, that is very research, very standard area as it relates to marketing and branding. And so don't just throw something up because you think it looks nice. Put a little bit of consideration. You don't have to be weird about it, but put a little bit of consideration into your color. Like, I like teal. It's my favorite color. It just happens to be aligned with blue. And the other thing I wanted to share real quick that I found fascinating in this article by Help Scout was that there was a study that was done not necessarily on the colors, but this one talked about the 5 dimensions of brand personality. So to me, this is a little bit more interesting and something a little bit that you may want to put a little bit more time into understanding. So let me see if I can just show this image, because I thought this was really interesting too, because I had not really deeply considered the dimensions of the personality. I always considered my business like it's my personality. That's my business. That's me. Which that is true to a point. So that's not the one I wanted to share. Hold on a second. Let me share this. I wanted to share. I'm gonna share this other image. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, cool. This one is the 5 dimensions of brand personality. Now, personality is different, right? I felt that this is really interesting. So, sincerity as a personality. Do you want and these are kind of like, how do you want people to perceive your business? So, do you want to be sincere? Kind of an exciting thing. You want to appear to be competent. Maybe if you're an accounting firm, you want to be competent. But if you're like an amusement park, you want to have excitement. And most of them are red, right? Or, if you're like a funeral director, or let me think, what would be sincere? A funeral director or something like that. Anything that's dealing with family, with sensitive matters, maybe like a hospice or something like that, then you might want to have this down to earth, honest, wholesome, cheerful type dimension to your personality. And then there's sophistication. Are you sophisticated brand? Upper class, glamorous, good looking, charming, feminine, smooth. Is that what you want to be known as? So for example, the radio station, I think, falls under sophistication. Everything with WJZZ is gold and black, right? Sophistication. Whereas for me in my marketing agency, my mission is kind of to make things simple, to clear away the smoke and mirrors in marketing and help people to just get stuff done and be efficient. I feel like I fall under sincerity. And then ruggedness, if you had a sporting goods store or something, ruggedness, you outdoorsy, masculine, kind of Western type of thing, tough. That's a dimension of your personality. So maybe what I would do is even just look at this and say, okay, just step back, and for your business, how do you want to be known? What do you want your brand personality to be? And start there, and then begin to think of imagery and things that might help represent that dimension of your brand personality. Okay, so now that's what I wanted to share. I thought this was a really interesting topic. In fact, I may spend even more time on this personally because I just think it's interesting. So I hope that was helpful for you. Yes, it is important to consider color when you're selecting your brand imagery. However, it's not just, a cut and dry, one color means one thing. You want to look at how your business is perceived from people based on your visual representation, and also is it properly aligning with what you want your brand personality to be when interpreted to other people. Now, I would recommend that maybe you share your logo with some people. Just do kind of like a focus group and say, hey, what comes to your mind when you look at this logo? And then you can get some feedback from people, because a lot of times if you're just doing it yourself, we all have different perceptions of what we think is good. And then, you talk to other people and they're like, wow, wait a minute, that's not what I thought. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for you. If it was helpful, then definitely share the video. I love when people share my videos. If you have questions about this, you want to get links to the information, then definitely message me. I'm happy to help. And I'll talk to you next time on Lunch with Jewel. Bye for now.